This week on Off the Air, Dan DiOrio and Tom Scibelli.
Tom, Dan, how you doing?
Hey, man, doing well. Thanks for having us.
Good to see you guys. I was just saying before, I haven't seen E-Man Jackson, haven't seen those smiling faces of yours since probably, freshman year maybe, or maybe Bob's birthday dinner last year. It's good to see you guys.
So that is a good point because this is the first episode we've had where we have an overlap. Tom and Dan are two people who are on the way out, seniors, while Jackson and I were freshmen. So it is a good point, Tom and Dan, that there is some overlap there, and we both shared somewhat of a Bob Aarons experience as well.
Yeah, definitely. I remember like your training class. It's crazy you guys are seeing, not to sound like an old man being like, I can't believe, but like seriously, it's crazy. Like I feel like your sports manager and assistant sports manager, right? I feel like that was one of the biggest locks of all time from like the start of freshman year. You knew it was like a minus 2,000 favorite that was going to be the duo running.
Well, I appreciate that.
Should have put some money on it. I appreciate that, though.
Just Dan, for you guys. Sorry, man. Just for you guys, how's everything? How has quarantine affected the work schedule for you guys? Obviously, being in a kind of a very different market, how has the quarantine and kind of staying home affected the way you guys go about things?
Yeah, I mean, I think Barstool is a unique company in the sense that we're probably better equipped to adapt to something like this than like a traditional sports media company because we don't necessarily need like actual sports to create stuff. Like Dave has been doing day trading every day. Big Cat is playing a 6-year-old college football video game to entertain people. Like everybody can kind of do your own thing. So yeah, I mean, I've been working from home. I've gone in the office just a few times to film a video, do a podcast or something. But for the most part, I think we're a company that's better equipped to sort of deal with a situation like this.
Yeah, I agree. I think Tom hit it right on the head because we do kind of more creative stuff and unique stuff. We have more flexibility when something unprecedented like this comes up. Like we have the ability for multiple content people to be streaming or creating content from their house, as well as like all the shows going remotely. So, I mean, aside from a couple production people that are required to be on site, it's been pretty smooth despite all the challenges that, we're facing.
You guys had different paths over to Barstool Sports. Tom interned for several years during college, and then that resulted in a full-time job after that really breathtaking month of March in 2018. Yeah. And Dan joined Barstool after he graduated Fordham. Tom, when did you know that Barstool Sports and that type of media was something you wanted to do after being at FUV for a little while?
Well, I mean, I started following Barstool I think sophomore year of college, just fell in love with the website, thought it was super funny. Didn't necessarily think I'd ever work there one day. But they moved to New York in September 2016. CEO sent out a tweet. Eric was like, you're a college kid in New York, you want the best internship of your life. Email us. So I did that. I got it. And then, yeah, I mean, so I was actually listening in honor of this. I was listening back to just some old FUV stuff last night on my Google Drive, taking a emotional trip down memory lane. And I found a recording I did from an internship seminar in like spring of 2017. So I've been at Barstool for maybe 8 months. And in that, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'll be working at Barstool, after graduation, because at that point I was still just doing social media stuff. And I didn't really think I want to do like social media for a living. I knew I wanted to do more something on air, like in front of camera, whatever it may be. But yeah, I mean, I always kind of knew that I like the creative aspect more than like, man, I know you like probably looking up the second string running backs, like height and weight of like Lehigh. That to me was extremely boring. Like I always liked one-on-one more, things that are more creative and more fun. So that's why Barstool was a great fit. I just didn't know if I'd get that opportunity to do it. And then, yeah, like you said, once I had that weird gambling March Madness run, that kind of opened up some doors. I was able to get a role in Barstool that I really, really wanted and enjoyed and have had a great time doing.
Yeah, so for me, it's basically just riding Tommy's coattails pretty much. No, but in all seriousness, the WFUV connections and the Fordham education just gives you such an advantage. Having that experience, you can just go to really any employer and they just have an understanding that you have, a very great foundation of knowledge that you can build around. And the one thing that's been great about Barstool is, I've watched them grow throughout college while I was in college. And then like Tommy did, it became a full-time job, which has been awesome. But just seeing the company grow and like the additions we make. And like you said, it's kind of a moving target in terms of what we're going for at any given time. But the fact that we can just adjust on the fly and call audibles as things come up is really something to be proud of. And it's been great working at Barstool, not only as in a production role, but you also have the freedom to kind of do whatever you want. Like started Twitch streaming and, doing more content stuff. So just having the freedom to do that in addition to your general day-to-day responsibilities is something that you won't get at any other job.
You guys have talked about obviously how Barstool is just such a unique content platform because there's just so much different stuff that goes on there. Did FUV influence your path in that way, and just saying like, listen, you kind of have been a part of this, you see what being just involved with specifically sports is about. Did that kind of like shy you away from maybe pursuing more a job in that front and wanted you to maybe go in a more unique direction like Barstool?
I wouldn't say like working at WFUV made me think like, oh, I don't want to work in sports media. I'd say if anything, it helped me understand what I like more, where like I said, like I kind of realized like, okay, I don't really know if I like doing like 2 days of prep to, figure out all these people's random statistics, height and weight and whatnot. Like that probably I don't want to do, but like doing one-on-one, doing podcasts and stuff like that, I was like, okay, this is a lot more fun. Like being able to have a little bit more creativity, that kind of made me realize like, okay, I'd much rather do that than do play-by-play or do color or whatever. So I would say like spending 4 years at WFUV and doing so many different things, it does help you find out what you want to do. And mine was more like on the creative side. It doesn't even necessarily have to be sports. I'd say right now a lot of stuff I do isn't even necessarily sports related. But it was just finding out that, I'd much rather do something creative than sort of do something in more traditional sports media.
Yeah, and the great thing is there's just, WFUV, you're forced to do so many different positions. I say forced, but really it's an opportunity you're given. You're given the chance to do color, okay, next week maybe you're doing play-by-play, or maybe the next week you're in the booth doing production. But those are all skills that, you can take with you long after graduation. And, while it's just, getting your feet wet at that time, you still have an understanding of, like Tom said, okay, I don't like doing this, or here's what I like working on. Let me tune my workflow to kind of, be more conducive to those things I like.
Do you guys recall your first interaction with Bob Aarons and how that kind of set you on your FQB path?
Yes. So I'm trying to, I remember I actually didn't know much about WFUV going into Fordham. Like I didn't go to Fordham to go to FUV. I knew Michael Cape and Scibelli, but like I didn't really know it was like such a great program. I just remember seeing it at the club fair one day. I actually don't remember if Bob was at the table. I imagine he might have been. I don't know. But I remember signing up, and I remember, like, I always remember calling him Mr. Aarons in, like, my first emails to him before realizing that, like, he just goes by Bob. But I do remember vividly one time, like, standing on the Metro North track. Like, I was going to visit a friend in the city, and it was an email from Bob being like, make sure you fill out this form if you want to be a trainee. And I remember being like, do I really want to do this radio program? Like, I don't know. And I was like, you know what? I'll just fill it out and see what happens. And that ended up being, like, the greatest decision probably that I ever made. But yeah, I mean, I just remember Bob, like probably the first workshop or whatever, just talking so much. That's basically the Bob memories. He just can talk about so many things for so long. But you know right off the bat that it doesn't take long. You don't have to spend much time with Bob to know that he's like a great guy.
Yeah, I think my first experience, I came into Fordham as a transfer, so joining WFUV was awesome, but I would definitely encourage anyone who transfers, that opportunity is definitely there for you to get involved. And Bob, once I told him that I had interest and I was doing previous radio experience at my other college I attended, he couldn't have been more, helpful with getting me onboarded and stuff. My biggest regret is that obviously I only had 3 years of WFUV experience, but in those 3 years' time, Bob really made sure that we were where we needed to be. from start to finish. He built around the skills that I had pre-existing, and it was really great to work under him. Yeah.
While we're on the topic of Bob Aarons, I mean, you guys are probably maybe the only two people in the world who've gotten the opportunity to work with Bob Aarons and Dave Portnoy. How would you compare and contrast those two as bosses and mentors?
Wow. Wasn't prepared.
You want to start? I mean, I have
you go first. I got to think of that answer.
I mean, they're both very passionate and have strong opinions on what they believe, like regardless of if you disagree with them. There's been times I'd go in and you know, Bob and I don't see eye to eye on something, or we're working on a video and I said, oh, I don't know if I agree with that cut. But you know what, at the end of the day, it's just like, those are two people that have undisputed success, in my opinion. And I mean, you just have to take each day and the experiences you have with them and learn from them. I mean, it's rare to be surrounded in people with that sort of talent. So just learning as much as you can.
Yeah, I'll say like having dinner, sitting across the dinner table from Dave or sitting across the dinner table from Bob is probably two very different experiences. But yeah, like Dan said, at the end of the day, they're both great at what they do. They both care a lot about, with Bob, WFUV, Dave, Barstool, obviously, and like will give 110%, 24/7 work ethic, grinding to make sure that their product is a success. For Dave, it's Barstool. For Bob, is WFUV. So I think anybody that has as much success as they've had are going to share those qualities, but definitely different personalities, I would say, in some other aspects.
100%.
A lot of the guests we've had on have cherished those relationships forged at FUV. You guys almost had your own road trip crew your senior year. Utah, Matt Murphy, Dan was the on-site producer a lot. Are there any memories that stick out from that particular group of going and traveling with the Fordham teams? Any road shows in particular that stick out among your most memorable Fordham memories?
I'll start right off the top. I mean, my favorite one just that we experienced was Fordham men's basketball versus West Virginia in Morgantown on December 23rd, I want to say, right before Christmas. The snow was coming down. And that's one of the moments where you just pinch yourself and have to look around. Like, you're on the team bus with the Fordham men's team and you're like in West Virginia pulling up to the stadium there. It's just crazy that is an experience that you can expect as a part of WFUV. And I mean, that's just one of many, but that was surreal for me. And in terms of road trip, I mean, we had an awesome trip to Cooperstown our senior year, in which Bob drove the first way there in the rental car, and he missed an exit. And instead of, you know, backtracking or just taking the extra maybe 5-10 minutes it added to the route, he decided to pull all the way over to the right lane on the highway and then put it in reverse for about 300 yards while tractor trailers and God knows what were in the left lanes beside us. So it was quite nerve-wracking. Another time he was probably going 70 miles an hour into a stop sign. But you know what? That's just part of the WFUV experiences that you don't get anywhere else. And I mean, like I said, that's Bob Aarons for you. I mean, sure, it will be scary, you know, riding with him, but at the end of the day, he's going to take you to great heights as long as you stay along for the ride.
Do you ever find it amazing that there are all these stories about someone nearly dying with Bob, but everyone makes it out okay? Like it's always a memory.
Yeah, I think that speaks to it. It's like something that everyone at WFUV should be initiated with is getting that experience before you really get the full understanding.
It does. FUV teaches you like a lot about sports media, and it teaches you how to handle being in the car with an absolute terrible driver. Those are like the two main things you walk away from with WFU. If we're on Bob driving stories, I remember one time we were going to the Giants game together, and I was covering the Giants, and he started leaving Fordham. And he's like, oh, what am I doing? Like, I'm driving like as if I'm going home. So he turns back around, starts driving a new way. And then he's like, oh, wait a minute, that was the right way, actually. So then he turned back around again. And it was just like 3 different reiterations of trying to get to Giant Stadium. But yeah, for road trips, I was going to say West Virginia also, especially because like we I don't remember. Do you remember how, Dan, we knew like the student manager somehow at West Virginia, so they let us like go into like the facilities, and we were just like shooting around and like looking at like Bob Huggins' office and stuff. So that was really cool. We went to, I think the three of us went to what, Dayton, Davidson, St. Joe's. We got to interview Joe Lunardi. That was pretty cool. Dan wasn't there, but like me, Matt, and John Furlong got to go to Jamaica. That was an unbelievable trip. So yeah, I mean, but even like, honestly, even the less glamorous trips are still fun memories. Like even football trips to like Bryant or like CCSU or something, like still stick with you just because like some of the best memories you have is just those van rides up there with usually Joe Berbari driving and like everybody else just in the back seat. So yeah, all those trips were fun. No matter now you're going to the Super Bowl or you're going to Fordham CCSU.
Yeah, so many. It's hard to name them all. You just named a couple that I forgot. Football games, like going to Georgetown for Fordham football was awesome. And then, like you said, Super Bowl was just another great time in Minnesota. So those are experiences.
The Georgetown experience, though, wasn't great because that was driving back that night was Game 7, Yankees-Astros, ALCS 2017. So we were trying to stream that on our laptop. And I remember watching Canely give up the home run. And so that experience sucked. But
I think I was trying to hack into the Ram Van Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was on my way back from somewhere during that. Judge robbed the home run. I thought it was a good sign of things to come. Obviously wasn't, but
they were cheating.
Not the most memorable night. Yeah, they were cheating.
They were cheating.
That's a good transition actually into Tom, your Yankee sector of what you do at Barstool Sports with Eric Hubbs doing the Short Porch podcast. How did that originate, and what qualifications did you need to meet to get affiliated with Barstool? Because you weren't when you initially started the podcast.
So it started, I think it was like maybe February of 2018. So at that point, that was like a month before I had like my little come up or rise, whatever you want to say. So I was originally supposed to be the producer, actually. It was going to be Hubbs and Frankie Borelli were going to be the hosts. But Frankie was nervous because he was just starting to do Foreplay at that time, which is our golf podcast. It's like, I don't want to be doing two podcasts because like then Dave's going to get mad at me. He's like, you got to be paying more attention to me because he's like Dave's right-hand man. He's like, maybe I just shouldn't be involved. So Hubbs was like, all right, like Tommy, you just host. So me and him started to host. Then it coincided well because like a month later I started to get more notoriety or whatever. So we got more attention. But yeah, we did one whole year just on our own. It was just me and him editing it ourselves, promoting it ourselves. And then the criteria was honestly, 2018 was the Yankees-Red Sox playoff series. So we're doing the live watch parties and stuff. And like that started to build up the Yankees presence at Barstool. Hubbs did his little dunce tour in like Boston. We had to wear a dunce hat like outside Fenway Park. So that started to build up the Yankees brand at Barstool. And since there's such a strong Red Sox presence, it was kind of natural. I think I just asked Dave, I was in like a year-end meeting. I was like, hey, can we just make our podcast like official? And he said, sure. So it really wasn't that complicated of a process. That's like another great thing of working at Barstool is like the freedom to do that type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, definitely like, I'd say that's one thing that WFUV definitely helped with is like, because obviously I had so much podcast and on-air experience from FUV. Like even like we've gotten to interview a ton of Yankee players through Short Porch. So like sort of knowing what it was like to be around players from covering the Yankees in the locker room at FUV, I think has definitely helped with that too.
For both you guys, even in only a few years at Barstool, it seems like you guys have made some pretty big memories there. I mean, Tommy, just for you being part of that March run with Dave as a senior in college, and then obviously being vape god Tommy Smokes in that regard. And then Dan, even last night, I mean, I'm watching you on Twitch and you wreck someone because they're making fun of AJ McCarron's wife. Is there a specific moment for either of you that sticks out in your time at Barstool?
You go first, Dan, because I want to.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's hard to say there's just one moment, but I think the one, like the pinch to yourself moment, like I was just talking to you about West Virginia. For me at Barstool, that moment came when just a couple months in, Dave put me on his private jet and we went to Rough and Rowdy and we put on a boxing match. And I mean, it was just like unbelievable, that sort of treatment for someone that's been employed at a company for such short time. So, I mean, I feel like he gets a bad rep in terms of certain things. But that's one thing that I was like, okay, he treats us well straight from the jump. And that was an unbelievable experience because that just opened the door for all the trips that followed. Like, okay, next week we're going to this trip, or, like the following summer we launched a golf tournament. So we were traveling all over to golf courses, whatever the event may be. To me, it's been really rewarding going and having a hand in, college football live show or NASCAR live event or rough and rowdy boxing match or whatever it may be. It's just been super, really rewarding to be involved at such a young point in my career. I'm very fortunate for that.
Yeah, so I'll say, like, I'm picking like a holy moment. That would, I don't know if we could curse, but that would be
You're
like
good.
seeing like Pete Davidson pop up playing me. But even that wasn't like, I was like alone in my den watching that. So that wasn't like that fun of a memory necessarily. It was like surreal. But like if I had to pick like fun or whatever, or like the most life-changing thing was that March Madness run in 2018. From like, I remember being so nervous the day, because like Dave had, like, because through FUV, Dave knew that I was like calling games and stuff. So he was like, all right, let's call the first games of that Thursday of the tournament together. And so like just him winning all those bets and then me becoming like a good luck charm and like having like funny moments. I remember Frank Kaminsky randomly showed up. Like I was calling basketball games like to Frank Kaminsky. I was like, what is going on here? So, like that leading into like a Las Vegas trip, in which like was unbelievable. And then that went to San Antonio, the Final Four the following weekend. Just that, like a 2 to 3 week period that just every day literally felt like you were living a dream, like from watching Dave and Big Cat and KFC and all these guys and being fans, like being a part of it and like traveling with them, being like private planes at a Vegas high stakes blackjack table, whatever it was. Like those memories are like just crazy to think that those happen still.
If that's at number one, at number two, in terms of notoriety, probably the Fox News appearance. For those who may not know, can you kind of describe the originations of appearing on one of the nation's preeminent political outlets and vaping to the despair maybe of a medical expert?
Yeah, so I it was like November of 2018, and I my simple goal was I want more Instagram followers. I remember I had like maybe 40,000 Twitter followers and like 3,000 Instagram followers. Like I want to even out this ratio a little bit. I was trying to think of ideas. Like, I'll do like a funny like parody jewel tricks video. Like I don't jewel. Like I'll pretend to do dumb jewel tricks around the office. I remember recording it on a Friday night. Came out on a Tuesday. Trey, who's an editor here, did an awesome job. Put sicko mode underneath it, and it just like really enhanced it. And like an hour after I put out that video, the FDA banned or was like considering a flavored e-cig ban or something like that. Like just happened to be incredible coincidence. And then like 2 days later, this girl DM'd me on Instagram, was like, hey, I work at Fox News for the Laura Ingraham angle. Would you like to come on and represent the youth and like defend the art of vaping? And I was like, sure. Like, I don't know anything about vaping, but this is a great opportunity for me to go out there and get some Instagram followers. So I knew just going into it, I just wanted to make it funny. I don't care at all about vaping. Like the vaping community got mad. They're like, gave us a bad look. And I was like, look, I'm in this for Instagram followers. I don't care about defending your community. I'm just going to try to go out there and be funny and make jokes. And yeah, went on. It was like a 5-minute interview, left Fox News. And yeah, it was like just a surreal, went like as well as I could hope.
In terms of exploding at such a young age on Twitter specifically, I mean, really when you like kind of burst onto the scene was during being a senior in college, doing March Madness stuff. How was life like for you trying to balance that while trying to finish and enjoy your senior year of college?
It was just awesome, really. Like it was just really fun. Like to be very transparent. Like it was because so we were like basically on spring break during all the March Madness stuff, which coincided well. So we got back at like 6 more weeks of college. And so those are fun enough. And then to add on like getting recognized at bars and stuff was like, it was definitely like weird at first. Is like one day you're like sitting in the back of Muggsy's, like minding your own business. And the next time you got people asking for pictures and stuff. That was weird. But it was fun. I mean, there was then like Dave wanted me to like move in with him because of all the gambling. And so it did get a little tough where it was like, I wanted to enjoy my last 6 weeks of college and also not mess up the opportunity I had at Barstool. So that was like a little bit of a a tough balance, I guess, but like they understood obviously that I literally had classes to go to get like a diploma. But yeah, I mean, it was just like Dan was there, like we'd like go out and Dan would, I think, pretend to be my security some nights. He'd be like 6 feet back, 6 feet back, during like Howl at the Moon or whatever. So yeah, it was, you definitely got to be like, I guess, more aware then that like you have a public image. But it, for the most part, was just really fun.
Were either of you aware that the pizza review was going to happen at Pugsley's when it actually did?
Actually, I remember texting Tommy and saying, like, it's happening right now, and he didn't believe me. And then he sure enough sprinted over there and caught the second half of the pizza review.
Yeah, I was getting like I was getting DMs like, oh, like Perez is here. And I was like, no way. Because at that point, that was like a week before March Madness, but I had been developing a little bit of a better relationship with Dave at that point. So he knew I was at Fordham. I was like, if he was here, he'd tell me. And then I was like I got the text like, all right, he's there. So I sprinted over and just like basically crashed him and John Taffer having a pizza review for those final 3 or 4 minutes. But no, I did not know until, and actually I still regret, I gave Pugsley's, I think, like a 7.3. I should have just went higher because Pugsley's is a Fordham institution.
I think John Taffer might have given it a higher score than that.
He did.
I
I
remember
think both
correctly,
of
he
them
was
did.
very impressed. Yeah, they were both impressed.
I mean, they made an unbelievable pie that day. Like
They did.
It was better than usual. So maybe I was basing it on typical Pugsley's. I remember the next time I went in, like whatever, a few days later, and Peter's just like 7.3, like he was like mad at me. I felt really bad. But yeah, I love Pugsley's. Pizza is love, or Pugsley's love it is. How does it go?
Yeah,
love is it, and that was more. That pie had to be like 3 a.m. Pugsley's, not 3 p.m. Pugsley's.
Right. That I was basing off 3 a.m. Pugsley's. Now they made like the freshest Pugsley pie I've ever seen for Dave and John Taffer.
Dan, let's shift one over to you. Your name on Twitter is HQ Spider.
yeah.
Explain that nickname to me, how it became, because I honestly, every time I see it, I think it's a perfect representation of you.
Yeah, so this guy right here, Dan Katz, another awesome part of Barstool, actually gave me that nickname on probably like my first month here. His name is also Dan, like I said, so I don't know if it was because he wanted to avoid confusion or maybe it's the fact that everyone at Barstool kind of has some sort of nickname, but I don't know, for whatever reason, I embraced it. It kind of stuck. And yeah, I think he said I reminded him of Spider from Goodfellas, who was just kind of all over the place, fetching things for the people at the top of the crime syndicate. So whatever it may be, however I can help is kind of my role here at Barstool. Like I talked about, FUV gives you the experience to do so many different things. Kind of just turn that into a full-time job of just doing random different things throughout the day. And I'm very fortunate that it's kind of worked out and I still have immense freedom.
Guy, just one more for both of you from my end. Obviously, Barstool is such a unique platform, and there are so many people out there who would love to work at Barstool one day. What would be your biggest piece of advice to people who are pursuing, whether it's Barstool or pursuing a unique kind of career path in sports media like you guys have?
I'd say like there is no blueprint. Like, you know, traditional sports media or whatever, you could kind of follow, go to a broadcasting school, get reps doing play-by-play, apply for a minor. Like Barstool, you could get in anyway. I started a social media intern. I got hired because my boss got lucky gambling sitting next to me. Like people that get hired for so many different reasons, where just like whatever you think you're good at or passionate about, just do that. Like if you're a really good if you want to blog at Barstool, just start your own blog, write a ton of blogs, hopefully get traction. Like KB No Swag is a good example. He's a Twitter personality, awesome, probably like maybe the best writer we have. He just started his own blog. Like Dave saw it one day. He was like, "You're great. We're gonna hire you." Like there's no call her daddy to mention them. Like Alex Cooper just was doing a podcast on her Instagram feed. Gaz, who works social media, saw it and was like, "We're gonna hire you." So there's really no specific way to be like, this is how you get hired at Barstool. I would just say stand out, like try to, you know, do whatever you're doing, make it as good as possible, make it as unique as possible, and then maybe you'll catch lightning in a bottle. But even if you don't, you'll still have something that, you know, you're proud of and can stand behind.
Yeah, I would say the name of the game is just being authentic. Like as soon as you start forcing stuff or trying to like aim it at what you think the Barstool vision is, it seems like that usually doesn't work out. I think the safer game plan, not even just for Barstool, but for any career, is just showing indisputable evidence, doing things you like. For example, if you want to run a social account or do social media, start a Twitter and say, here's where I started, here's where we're at now, this is how much it's grown. Or, you know, even down to a finance thing. If you work in the finance world, okay, this is how much we spent, this is the total percentage of the budget that we could have saved, etc. Just putting things in indisputable fact form of like, here's what I created, here's how consistently I've been doing it, it's been occurring for this long, every week, here you can find it. That is huge. I mean, there's a lot of people that talk about what they want to do or the ideas that they have, but it's a completely different thing to actually put it in fruition and do it consistently over and over and just get those reps in.
Yeah, and I'll also add, like, for Barstool specifically, like, get your foot in the door basically any way you can. Like, for me, it started as like a social media intern, which, like, you know, was that something I want to do forever? No, but like I felt like, all right, my foot was in the door. I could get to a place in the company where I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Dan, he started as like an office manager. I'm sure he didn't like stocking chips and stuff every day, but he's now at a point where like he's doing it, he's rubbing his racing stream, like he's at a point where he's more happy. So like you'll get your foot in the door and then you'll kind of figure it out from there, I would say.
One more time, your Thursday thoughts on Instagram, some of those I actually have never even thought to consider. Is that all your personal just train of thought, or do you find it elsewhere?
You think I'm stealing Thursday thoughts on that? What kind of insult is that? No, they're all, I have like probably 120-page Google Doc of just things that I think. Early on, it was easy because like these are all just thoughts I've had throughout my entire life. And then as I think I've done like 76 of them now, you sort of have to dig kind of deep into there and just everything you think, sort of almost write them as if you're writing like a joke almost, sort of like for some of them are like that. Some of them are just a random thing that you think. So no, those are all originals. I'm a little insulted actually.
Yeah. Sorry to insult, but hey, you can look at it as a compliment as well. They are very interesting thoughts. So it shows the uniqueness of it. So guys, we appreciate it. Continue to kill it at Barstool and appreciate you taking some time today.
Thanks so much, E-Man. I appreciate it. Jackson, Rob, I hope all is well at WFUV. Thanks so much for having us on today, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Keep killing it there at WFUV. Hopefully you guys can have a senior year and enjoy that senior year WFUV experience because it's once in a lifetime.